The following production is part of the Play Some Video Games podcast network.
Boarders, and welcome to Board with Video Games, the gaming podcast that strives for the right balance of coverage for games you play on your table and on your television. You can think of us as the chips and dip of gaming podcasts. We're a proud member of the PSVG Podcast Network and thrilled to be part of the Dice Tower Network as well. I'm one of your hosts, Kyle, and joining me on this co-op adventure, guy who likes his chip and dip ratio to be 50-50. Josh, how are you doing this evening?
Hey, I am doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Not too shabby. Okay, I know texture's a big thing with you.
Yeah.
Do you like chip dip?
Not really. I do like salsa.
Okay.
I'm
that
good
was
with
going
that.
to be my next question. Is salsa a dip?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, you do actively dip into it.
Right.
So I guess it just depends on your definition of dip. I can do ranch, but I don't usually put chips in that. That's usually vegetables.
Right.
But it is called ranch dip. So I guess maybe the definition is the act. So I guess salsa could be considered a dip because you don't exclusively dip it.
That's true.
So you also sometimes put it on top of things. Also, there's Tostitos scoops, so technically you could be scooping it.
So chips and scoops. Okay, so if someone said, hey, Josh, do you want some dip? And they offered you salsa, would that throw you off?
Yeah, I probably would, right? Just by,
right.
Like, if someone's like, you want a sandwich and they hand you a hot dog? It would probably throw me off, yeah, for sure.
Okay, so we're on the salsa is not a dip train.
I think if you, yeah, like 70-30.
Okay,
you
the
could
salsa's not a dip.
me.
What about guacamole? Is guacamole a dip?
Yeah, I think guacamole is a dip. It's also a topping, though. I think any dip can also be a topping, though.
Right. So why salsa's not a dip, but guacamole is a dip? Why?
Maybe texture.
Is it because salsa is in general like
liquid?
Okay, I was going to say, do you prefer a liquidy salsa or do you prefer a more like pico de gallo style, less liquid salsa?
Past Josh preferred liquidy. Like I didn't like to put a chip into salsa and pull out onions and peppers.
Right.
That kind of bugged me, and that was, I think, maybe even texture. Now that I'm eating more onions and peppers regularly in my diet, I actually enjoy getting a good like scoop of salsa with like bits in it. But the chip actually hides, I think, the texture problem for me.
I can see that. Yeah, I really enjoy dip, probably more than I should. I'm a big fan of like French onion dip.
Yeah.
Yeah, a big fan of that. And of course, you have to make it at home. None of this. And by at home, I mean you buy the onion soup mix and just mix it with a thing of sour cream. I'm not
gotcha.
rendering down my own onions, though I could try that. I've thought about trying that sometime. I've not gotten to that point. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of chips and dip. And probably the 50-50 ratio, not quite there. I definitely I don't want the dip to be overwhelming to the chip, but you have to have the saltiness balanced out with like the fattiness of what that dip offers, you know?
I do. I actually know what I do miss, which kind of goes against my texture policy, is port cheese and crackers.
What kind of cheese?
Port, like the wine, port cheese.
Oh, port. I thought you said pork.
Pork cheese.
Pork cheese. I was like, okay, I guess maybe it's like some sort of head cheese that I'm not aware of. That
Yummy.
could be a thing. Pork cheese and crackers. That sounds good.
I used to do that when I was a kid. Like my dad would eat it, so we would also like emulate him. And I actually really enjoy it. It's just not something I do very often.
Is queso a dip?
You know, I'm a little bit wishy on that. Like people use it as a dip a lot, but yeah, I mean, I guess if you're dipping in it, that's a dip.
That's true. There's one of the burrito places around here, which I know you've never eaten a burrito, so you might not be able to, relate to this quandary. But One of the burrito places around here that's very popular in Iowa, the big reason a lot of people like it is they say their queso is so good at this place. So when you get a burrito, you get the queso in the burrito. My argument has always been, if you need to put the queso on, everything else in their burrito stinks.
Oh, it's like putting A1 sauce on a steak.
Yeah, and like their queso is pretty decent, and I don't mind getting like chips and queso as a side. But to me, if you're putting that queso in the burrito, that means that everything else in the burrito probably isn't that amazing.
Yeah, I hear you. That's a good argument. There's an argument for that, yeah.
And I'm sure other people are going to tell me I'm wrong. That's fine. If you're listening and you think I'm ridiculous, I would love to hear your argument to the other side of that. And I would also love to know, is guacamole a dip? Is salsa a dip? Is queso a dip? What are your thoughts on those things? These are the important questions we're asking on Board with Video Games. Anything else, Josh, we want to talk about before we get into the show proper this week?
No.
All right. We have a lot of fun things, a lot of topics this week, so I'm pretty excited.
I get distracted. I'm sorry. My friend literally just texted me a picture of her baby that was born, and I did not know it was coming. So I got surprised real quick.
I mean, didn't know it was coming, as in you knew she was pregnant, but not due so soon, or?
Yeah, everything with coronavirus really just kind of messes me up time-wise.
No, I can totally understand that. I have a friend who I hadn't seen in quite some time, and then ran into them, oddly enough, one time, and I was like, oh my gosh, you're super pregnant, and I had no idea. So I can understand how thrown off that would be, but I just thought it would be really funny if all of a sudden they were like, hey, look, here's my baby, and you had no idea they were pregnant. That would have been hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't think you'd find that as funny as I did. Anyway, moving on, housekeeping. Thanks so much for joining us this week, everyone. As always, if you have any feedback, questions, or suggested topics, hit us up at Board with VG on Twitter, or check out all the awesome things over on the Instagram, also Board with VG. We are a proud part of Play Some Video Games, and PSVG is on Patreon. We're absolutely thrilled with the support you have given us there thus far, and if you'd like to monetarily support what we do, you can find us there at patreon.com/PSVG. But the most important thing is just that you listen and maybe share our show with someone who you think would enjoy it as well. We're also a member of the Dice Tower Podcast Network, so if you enjoy our conversations about board games and would like to dive deeper into that world, we encourage you to check out the Dice Tower Podcast, as well as all of the other members of the network. No matter what type of board games you enjoy, there's a podcast on the network that is right for you. With that, Josh, throwing it over to you, what is your first topic of the show?
Well, I went a little light because you have definitely the heavier topics this week.
I don't know. One of yours is pretty heavy, I feel like.
So we're going to start off with something I originally found on Facebook in a board game group, or maybe it was a video game group. Now I'm forgetting where I found it. Basically, this dad took to Reddit under the Am I the A-hole group?
Oh,
where
yes.
People post things they've done and ask, am I the jerk for doing this, or was what I did just? So it's about a dad punishing his 9-year-old son, and the story behind it is, since schools have been closed, his son has been waking up late, around 9 or 10. Yet his father had set the rule of waking up at 7 a.m. So he set up an alarm clock for his son so that he would wake up on time, but his son kept sleeping through his alarm, and it disappointed his father. So he talked to his son about waking up on time. He warned him against sleeping in late. The boy agreed to his father's instructions, and he started waking up on time. However, he had gone back to sleeping in late for the past week afterwards, and it made his dad mad. So his father gave him one last warning. But the boy slept until 11 a.m. after giving his warning, and his father decided to take actions. Now, what they don't mention if you read his posts, he says things like, I told him there would be consequences. He never told him what the consequences would be. Obviously, I'm not defending what happened. I'm going to tell you what he did, but what I'm going to say is everyone's stressed out in this, especially parents who are stuck at home with their children. So I can understand where it can be frustrating. But what the father decided to do was he went onto his son's, I think it's PC, and he deleted his son's Minecraft world that his son has been working on for over a year and had been showing off to his father about how proud he was of it and how much work he had put into it and all of this stuff. And he wrote like on the thing, like, my son, he won't eat, he won't talk, he's been crying nonstop for days. What do I do? And he did not get any kind responses back from Redditors. In fact, a lot of people told them their own experiences about their parents doing things like that to them and how their relationships have been torn, how they've never forgiven their parents. Some people are saying, good luck at the therapy in the future. Some people are saying, wow, you couldn't have thought of a different solution, or you couldn't have told him what the consequences were. This is what you went to at first instead of taking away computer time. So people went kind of crazy on him. So I think my question to you is, do you think the punishment equals the crime?
No, not at all. I'm not a parent. And I have said multiple times, I don't want to pass judgment or tell people how to parent. I don't think that's for me to do because I am not a parent. But my goodness, when I read this, hoofda, that seems a little bit of an overreaction. And I'm reading through, as you were talking about it, I was reading through the Reddit comments. And my lord, people have not been kind.
No.
Like, there's over 1,500 comments on this, which is a lot. And people have really let this person have it. I think some of the highlights, one user, Jen Doke, said, "Good for you. You've taught your son an important lesson. Never share anything you're excited or happy with your parents, because it can and will be weaponized when they're unhappy with you. This is an important life lesson that will serve him well as he learns to keep every aspect of himself a secret from you up until he turns 18 and cuts you out of his life entirely. Congratulations."
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Here's one from Huge Purple Hippo. I have to really read these before I say them out loud, but that's a great username. Nice work, Huge Purple Hippo. He worked on that thing for more than 11% of his life. But he doesn't have explicit memories of the first 2 to 3 years and only has full adult-like memories since 6 or 7. So it's more like a third of the life he remembers. So not a windshield. A better comparison would be a very detailed, hard-to-make hobby piece you have worked on for 10 plus years. So this seems, I think, maybe take away the computer privileges for a while. Maybe try to figure out what's going on as to why your son isn't sleeping as well or getting up when they typically did. I know I have a heck of a time getting out of bed in the morning, and I'm old. And if old people aren't supposed to need sleep, and I'm struggling. So this seems like an overreaction to me. Josh, what do you think?
I think it's terrible. I really feel like I kept trying to relate. Like, I get angry with my son. He's only 3. And I can only imagine something like this, at least for us, like this is kind of in our wheelhouse, our hobby. Like, I can understand what kind of accomplishment that is. Why I would never punish my son by taking away one of his accomplishments. In my head, there were so many different ways to handle it. I think his biggest problem is going to the internet and telling people what he did, because he was clearly second guessing a decision he made out of a moment of anger.
Right.
And a lot of people were saying, like, you got to cut the kid some slack. He's away from his friends. No one has ever lived like in something like this in our generation. Like, he doesn't know that he's doing something wrong necessarily. And like, that is also the other problem. None of us are in that house. So we also don't know any other part of that story. But still, I don't think, and also these people who post funny videos of parents unplugging the TV or computer when their kids are playing Fortnite, horrible. Just you got to manage that better yourself. Cut down on TV time, whatever. But doing things like that,
they unplugged it, so they had less TV time.
But those people they're not just doing it as a punishment. They're doing it because they think it's funny.
Right.
And when you're punishing your child and you're getting some satisfaction out of it, you're not really punishing them. You're doing this for your own satisfaction, which is sick.
Yeah. What I equate this to, and I don't know, it probably isn't even remotely still the same. I just think about, say that kid had, done a picture of his family in art class in school and got an A on it and brought it home and it was hung on the fridge, and then they woke up late. So you take that picture off the fridge and rip it up in front of them and throw it away. Like, that's what this feels like to me, but way more extreme, because he worked on this thing for over a year.
I really feel horrible for this kid. It's kind of a mess.
Yeah. This is really, really sad. The thread is now locked, so you can't add to it. But yeah, this is quite the situation here. My goodness. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Do we think that this is similar to how we think this is an overreaction by the parent, that, the kid was sleeping in, maybe struggling? Do we think maybe that the same challenges the kid was feeling and experiencing, which made it harder for him to go to bed and wake up, do you think maybe that this parent overreacted because of the situation as well, of everything that's going on, of being cooped up, of all these things, that this parent might not normally do something like this, but because of the situation, because we're giving the kid a lot of slack, right? And saying, hey, the world's a little bit ridiculous right now. Do we think maybe the same is true for the parent, and that's why they reacted the way they did?
Yes, I do think so. I'm not necessarily judging him on all of his, maybe this is just one specific action, but yeah, I think anyone in this situation could and may overreact to anything, because we're all put to different degrees of stress that we're not used to having, and sometimes you just don't know how you're going to react to those things. And I don't think that, well, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to judge, right? But it's definitely possible, even plausible, that his dad's just under a lot of stress. We don't know if he lost his job. We don't know what his work situation is. We don't know if the mom is in the family. We don't know if he has any more kids. There's a lot of variables. Do I think his son will eventually forgive him? I hope so. But you don't know. That's just I teach my son when he is acting crazy to stop and take a deep breath. Mm-hmm. And I've also been doing that myself. And also my wife will say it to me if she sees me stressing out, and I'll say it to her. You kind of have to find that way, because I've definitely overreacted to things.
Right.
Or yelled at my son too loud because I was frustrated too. And sometimes you feel bad about that stuff. I mean, you feel bad for reacting, but you're also doing it out of stress and frustration. So, and I promise you, even though you might feel like you'll feel better after you do it, it makes you feel worse. So you're not actually feeling better at all.
Do you think the dad should apologize?
Yes.
Okay.
He should also tell him he overreacted, because at least if he can make his son understand his reason why he did it,
right,
maybe that he'll be more forgiving of his father.
Right. Yeah, I think the parent apologizing and saying, hey, I apologize, I overreacted. Sometimes, even though I'm the parent, sometimes I get things wrong, I think is an important thing that could happen in this situation from the person who says they never tell parents what to do.
Yeah.
So, anything else about this situation you want to talk about?
No, I mean, when you go to punish your kid, just think about what the punishment is first.
Yeah, don't delete their Minecraft world they've been working on for a third of their life.
Yeah, maybe celebrate their accomplishments. Don't go into their room and throw their baseball trophy against the wall because they didn't wake up at 7 a.m.
Right, for sure. All right, Josh, my first story comes from Games Radar, and this was kind of all over the place, but a story here by Leon Hurley over at Games Radar says, an 8-year-old canceled Prince of Persia game no one knew about just turned up. The story goes on to say, quote, barely days after a fake Prince of Persia 6 website domain came and went, gameplay for a previously unseen canceled Prince of Persia sequel has been discovered on YouTube, where it's apparently been quietly sitting, minding its own business for the last 8 years.
I'm just watching it now. It looks really good.
So I was going to say, first question, Josh. How do you think it took 8 years for anybody to find this?
I don't know. I guess, was it hidden well? I don't know.
Well, and people, it says that, it's possible that it was unlisted or private for a while.
Yeah.
So that could be why it's been on so long before anyone found it. So you're watching the video right now?
Yeah.
It looks pretty good, doesn't it?
I'm pretty impressed, especially for the age of the game. It makes me want more Prince of Persia.
I know, and this was basically a pitch video to say, hey, we want to make this game. So, even then it's not as polished or anywhere near as polished as it would have been when it was done.
Yeah, they got a lot going on in one little thing, like in-world events happening around the character and pretty cool fights. Yeah, I'm kind of bummed that this isn't a game that we got to play.
Right. The article states, quote, evidence this canned sequel exists has actually been seen before, with 3D level artist Christophe Prelot listing a, quote, Prince of Persia Untitled Cancelled, unquote, for PS3, Xbox 360, and PC in 2010. His work on that lasted a year and generated an entire level of a Persia city in destruction with scripted events. The description definitely matches up with the gameplay here. Josh, do you really want a new Prince of Persia game?
I didn't know that I did until I saw this. This is incredible. There's so much going on. It's insane. So he's on top of a giant octopus now.
Right.
That's underneath a city, there's a lot going on. Yeah, I didn't know that I wanted a new Prince of Persia, but I do now.
I know, it looks so cool.
Maybe Ubisoft, they are putting out a new one and they leaked this so people would see it.
So interestingly, and this is what I thought was pretty cool about it, Jonathan Cooper, who is ex-Naughty Dog and former Assassin's Creed animator, said on Twitter, wow, haven't seen this in ages. Amazing work from animation director Kai Wynn and team. And Kai apparently works on For Honor. This target game footage, pre-rendered game pitch, inspired our own pitch for Assassin's Creed 3, as they did such a great job making it look like real gameplay. So...
Oh, it's not real gameplay.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the E3 effect.
It kind of was the E3 effect. But here's the thing that I find most interesting, because you want a Prince of Persia. I've said I want a new Prince of Persia for a long time. But the last paragraph in this Games Radar article, I think, is the most interesting thing. It says, quote, judging by the length of time it was worked on, it looks like this take was never picked up. And interestingly, Cooper adds, quote, sadly, Ubisoft are generally quicker to cancel Prince of Persia games than other IPs because original creator Jordan Mechner still holds license rights, so the profit margins are lower, end quote. That might explain why we've not seen or heard from the Prince in quite some time. Do you think, Josh, that since Ubisoft doesn't own the IP and Jordan Mechner still owns it, do you think that's why we haven't gotten a new Prince of Persia game?
Yes. I don't. You would think that if it was so sought after, someone would buy it. So maybe that's what the problem is. People aren't asking for it.
I mean, possibly, but there's a lot of things that aren't being made that people are asking for, right? I know people are asking for a Prince of Persia. Maybe not in droves, but I think people are definitely want a new Prince of Persia. There are other Ubisoft properties that people really seem to want that we have not seen yet, even though it sounds like some of those things might exist that we'll be seeing soon-ish, maybe. But I do truly wonder, is this just a situation where Ubisoft says, the investment isn't worth the return? We're just not going to make enough money because X amount of it has to go to Jordan. So we're really just not going to be able to turn enough of a profit to make sense making a Prince of Persia game. And if so, that's kind of sad, isn't it?
Yeah, it is sad. It's too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. This kind of falls into that thing of if there are enough people asking for it, it falls into like that Splinter Cell,
right?
Infamous kind of thing. Like, why aren't we getting these games that we know people want?
Right.
There's definitely has to be more behind the scenes stuff.
For sure. But we're getting a new Splinter Cell, right?
Apparently, they're just putting Splinter Cell content into current Ubisoft games instead.
Maybe people will buy our other games if there's Splinter Cell content in the games, right? That's the way we go with it.
I guess, huh?
is there one game series right now that has been dormant that you'd really like to come see back? Like, what's the one game series you want a new game in?
Honestly, if I'm going to be like Spec Ops,
Yeah.
There's a lot of games that I would like to see come back, but a game there isn't. I can't think of a game that has really held this like revered position in gaming for so long that has never gotten a sequel.
Right. No, I understand that. Mine is not that cool. I just really want a new SSX Tricky game.
That would be
not
great.
Like the last one, but like the previous versions of Tricky. That's what I really want. And like the newest one was fun. I played it. I enjoyed it. It just didn't quite grab me as much as SSX did back in the day, but I would really love a new one of those a lot. I feel like those extreme sports games as a whole have kind of fallen off the cliff. We don't really get to any of those anymore.
Yeah, I agree.
Bad. Which is too bad because those were so darn fun. I've
been saying it. It's been at least a year or more that we've been wanting EA Big to come back in a big way. No pun intended.
Yeah. EA Berg. Cool. All right, Josh, what is your second topic?
Hey, so another light one. But she's back. Mrs. Monopoly has resurfaced as the advertisement we covered here on Board with Video Games 8 months ago.
But we're trendsetters.
Has been discovered.
Too soon.
It's been discovered by the Twitterverse. And boy, oh boy, are people reacting the way you would expect them to react. Of course
they are.
So I guess my question, have you rewatched the ad and do you think, have our feelings changed on this? Also, why do we think this is in the news again? How to refresh people's memory. The ad starts showing a girl working on a computer chip. And it says, women hold just 10% of all patented inventions. Mm-hmm. And like the ad, and then it says, fortunately, most young girls are unaware of that fact. And then it's basically like this IBM commercial or something, like one of those commercials that they just show you like motivating pictures and video of like what's happening, and they interview children who are like young women in tech or innovative jobs, science, computing, and they show that one of the girls getting a present. She opened it and it says, "That's why we created Miss Monopoly," and she opens the box, and that is the gift that we're giving young children. There's a little note inside the box that the girls read with their parents. And I want to get to the end because they show all these kids super happy with Miss Monopoly. And then it says, "Be a game changer." Mm-hmm. And people are losing their minds over this, especially women, which I don't want to say I can understand because I don't want to claim I can understand women. But I believe when we talked about it, there was, in my mind, a sense of condescension in this. And people have been like going over the names of some of the properties that are on the board, which we did not dive into before. And I don't know that we necessarily have to now, but it definitely comes across as anti-feminist, right? Because they're like, if you're a girl and you're playing the game, you start off with more money.
Right.
But people on Twitter are quick to say like, "Oh, great, thanks. I have just the same advantages of men, except I don't earn it, and you give me more money just to tell me." And then like one girl's like, "By the end of the game, don't worry, you're still constantly reminded you're still a woman once the game is over." So like there's still people struggling with the idea that women are fighting for equality, and this is what they're given as a counter from Hasbro.
Yeah, and we talked about it, like you said, 8 months ago. Yeah. So I feel like we're a little ahead of the curve here. Number one, I have no idea why this is trending again. I don't know what happened that brought it to the forefront. Yeah. Number two, I felt kind of smart because the first tweet I saw about it said, "You'll never guess what this is advertising," and had a link to the video. And I said, I know exactly what that's advertising, even before I started playing the video, because I remembered it from 8 months ago. So I felt pretty smart, which is a rarity for me. So I'm going to take that as a win. But I think this is, and we've talked about this, Hasbro really has just missed the mark on some things significantly, but it doesn't seem to care, right? For Monopoly, they have done basically every type of Monopoly you possibly can. And this is one of those situations where I think the intention was good, but they really didn't think it through.
Yeah.
And they really missed the mark. They just missed, and we can say, well, they were intending a good thing, so we can just kind of wash our hands of everything else. And unfortunately, intent doesn't negate impact, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Just because you meant for nothing bad to happen or you meant something to be good doesn't mean you could ignore the bad ramifications of what you did. Now, is it better to have good intentions than bad intentions? Absolutely.
Sure.
But that doesn't relieve you of responsibility, If you are walking with a friend and you're joking around and you push them and they trip and break their arm, it's not like suddenly because you didn't mean that to happen, the arm isn't broken, So, I don't know. I do find it interesting this is back again. I also think I'm kind of surprised that Hasbro doesn't take it down.
Right. It has over 1 million views.
That's true.
It's insane.
True. Yeah. And, we talked about it too back when this first came out, that Monopoly basically is a game that was stolen from a woman designer and given to there's a whole lot of reasons why this is a very complex issue. So.
No, I agree with you. I do feel like we were ahead of the curve on this because there are also people they're posting the original idea for Monopoly and how it was stolen from Parker Brothers. And I was like, we talked about that. We talked about all these things. So it feels nice to be ahead of that, but it is funny. I don't understand how this got out unless there was a Hasbro earnings call or something. But they can't have been too successful with it because my Target had 95 copies of this on clearance.
Well, we did talk about, Hasbro's earnings a week or two ago.
Yeah. So maybe it's related to that, but man, it's pretty crazy. And then I saw a really funny post. Some woman posted the price of regular Monopoly and the price of Mrs. Monopoly, and she's like, and women are still getting 1/3 of what men get because it was half the price of regular Monopoly.
Right.
It was just really, they're just, I don't know. I can't say they're opening themselves up to this because they did it so long ago. Right. They're just now someone isn't feeling so smart because they're getting their comeuppance, if you will.
Yeah. And I think that's the big thing, right? Before, it was a big deal in board game Twitter 8 months ago, and now it's a big deal in mainstream Twitter today or yesterday or whenever it was. So, Hasbro, well, I'd say I'm sorry and I feel bad for them, but I don't. You made it, so I guess you're going to have to be cool with that, I suppose. Anything else you want to say about Ms. Monopoly?
Hey, do better, Hasbro.
That's right. Do better, Hasbro. Okay. Josh, my second topic, the Quacks of Quedlinburg. There's going to be a contest. We are going to talk about the contest and how you can win your own copy of Quacks of Quedlinburg due to weird shipping things that who knows how it happened, but we have 2 copies. Number 1, Josh, the thing that I did not know or I guess maybe I had forgotten about, maybe I did know it at one point. I did not realize this game was in the top 100 on Board Game Geek.
Oh, yeah.
Number 82 overall, which surprised me. Mostly because I have one of those posters with the top 100 games and you scratch it off every time you play one.
Oh.
And this game is not on that. So it must have moved more recently into the top 100. So number 82, I had the chance to play this, sat down, and the partner and I played this game. Played a couple rounds of it. Overall impressions, this game is great.
Yes, I'm glad
it's
you
like
it.
It's a lot of fun. It's a good push your luck game. I like the aspect of kind of the bag building, of deciding which tokens you're going to put in there, of putting them in your pot, and the luck or not luck of pulling out those right numbers, trying not to get the cherry bomb number above 7, all of that. I like the diversity of how many different books there are so that you can really change up the gameplay of what all the pieces mean, how your pot board is double-sided so you can change things up there. There's a lot of flexibility to gameplay here, which I like a lot. The thing I don't like about this game, and I don't know if you've experienced this, my goodness, did we have a couple lopsided. Well, one of our games was super lopsided because for the life of me, I could not I was just pulling the white.
You had bad pulls, yeah.
Oh my gosh, it was bad.
Yep,
So bad. And I get the catch-up mechanic with the rat tails to kind of help you, but when you can't even move your droplet forward at all, and the other person is moving I think at one point, Erica's droplet was on like 12 or 14, and mine was on 3.
Oh man. You gotta take shorter turns at the beginning. I think that's the key. You got to build up that bag with even if you buy a cheapo orange, just to get your whites to be the minority in your bag.
Oh no, I agree 100%. But then I just unlucky, pure just unlucky pulls of and trying to use the flask, and you're like, okay, I will use the flask so I can put that one back, and then you pull the exact same one out back again, and then you don't have your rubies, so you can't refill your flask. I mean, overall, really love the game. It was really fun, and I'm sure that was just a minor odd situation that happened, but that one of the games just was very, very not close. And the interesting thing is that in the other game, Erica was behind for up until 7th turn, 8th turn, and pretty significantly behind, and then just crushed me in the last 3 turns. Just destroyed me. Because since she had the rat tails for being behind me, she constantly was just finishing right about where I was as far as her score was. But because she had started off behind and then kind of stayed about the same amount behind, but because of the rat tails pushing her stuff forward, she was being able to buy such good chips that eventually it just flipped and she was just crushing me. She got to the handle the last 3 turns in a row.
Really?
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Wow.
And that's when we were playing, though. We had flipped the boards to the second side. And at that one, the yellow chips basically let you, it's hey, the next thing you pull, you get to do double the distance.
Yeah.
So then, and she did that and pulled a 4. So then she went 8 and then pulled another yellow 4. And the next thing she pulled was a 2. So she went 4. So in those 4 pulls, she went, 14 spaces or whatever it was, some ridiculous amount of spaces or actually it was more than that, 12, 13, 14, 16 spaces in those 4 pulls. And I was like, oh goodness. So she crushed me real bad, but it's a really fun game. I like it a lot. I definitely recommend people play it, and it is light enough. It was kind of odd to explain at first, but then when you start playing, you're like, oh, this is super straightforward.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I was going to say, are you still as high on Quacks as you were before?
Yes. In fact, the more I play it, the more I like it.
Very cool. All right, so here's the contest, how you can win your very own brand new, still sealed copy of Quacks of Quedlinburg. I really wanted to make this a pretty easy to enter contest, and I wanted to make it a situation where instead of just doing something on social media, I wanted to ensure those of you who listened would have the best chance of winning. So probably we'll never mention this on social media. I can't promise we won't because I'm forgetful sometimes, and I don't want to make that promise and then accidentally tweet something about it. But the goal is that we're just going to talk about it on the podcast. So all you need to do to be entered to win is very simple. Between now and 11:59 Eastern Time on May 22nd, so from the time this episode posts, you'll have about a little over a week, and then we'll talk about it again next week, and then you'll have just a few days after next week's episode airs. But between now and 11:59 p.m. Eastern on May 22nd, you can either send an email to boardwithvg@gmail.com or send a tweet to us at boardwithvg on Twitter, and all it needs to say is quack. That's it. You don't need to say anything else. You don't need to give any other information. Email us or send us a tweet that just says quack, and that's it. And you'll be entered in the drawing to win. Everyone who sends a entry will be put into the drawing, and then I will draw sometime the weekend of the 22nd, and we'll reveal the winner on May 26th. When that show goes live, the winner will be announced, and then I will reach out to the person shortly afterwards to get shipping information taken care of and get things straightened out. So Pretty easy. All you need to do, again, email us, boardwithvg@gmail.com, or send us a tweet at boardwithvg on Twitter, and it just has to say quack. If you want to be really cool about it, you could use I will also accept any Mighty Ducks related gifts. Those will also be acceptable. So either say quack, Mighty Ducks gif, or send us an email that says quack. All you need to do. That seems straightforward, right, Josh?
I think it's pretty easy to enter.
That was the goal. I didn't want to make it complicated. I wanted to make it very, very straightforward. So that is the Quacks of Quedlinburg contest. You could win your own copy of the game. It is exceptional. Josh loves it. I love it. And you could have your own copy in just a couple of weeks. Josh, what is your third topic?
My third topic, well, is something that I shouldn't say everyone, a lot of people have been talking about. And for sure, some people in the PSVG network will be talking about. So we don't have to go crazy inside Xbox details.
Oh, no, we're going crazy. We're going deep. I haven't really talked to anyone about this yet, so I want us to talk about it.
Cool. So we had an Inside Xbox, or they called it Xbox 2020. Almost a little late, but that was on May 9th. So we are recording on no, that wasn't May 9th. It was the 8th, right? No, the 7th. It was May 7th. It was a Thursday.
Yep.
So yeah, basically, well, we were promised the first reveal of Assassin's Creed Valhalla gameplay, and that's pretty much all we were told was going to happen. We were going to see a showcase of games from third-party developers, but we didn't really know what we were getting ourselves into. So, with that being said, I'm going to pull up, we'll just go through a list of some of the games they showed, okay?
Yeah.
So, one of the things they focused on was smart delivery announcement. So this was something like a game trailer would pop up. It would say world premiere. And then in the little bottom thing, it would say, if the game was smart delivery, it would just say smart delivery. Mm-hmm. And that meant if you bought this game on our current generation of consoles, you would be able to upgrade this game for free to the Series X. I think it was later revealed that most of these things do have like a window where you're able to do that. So it's not like you buy it and then you can wait a year to buy your Xbox Series X and then upgrade. There's actually like a certain window. I believe each game is different though. It's not like a set window. So we saw that for certain games, it will have smart delivery. I don't know if I think this is in order as they were shown, but we'll just go in the order that I have here. This is from GameSpot.com. The first game shown was Bright Memory Infinite. Mm-hmm. It's described as a frenetic first-person shooter set in a futuristic world that also happens to contain powerful Spartan warriors. The protagonist has a zipline tool as well as vehicles, a sword, guns. This probably, to me, was the most impressive-looking game we saw. Because it had what appeared to be actual gameplay. And it was I described it to Kevin on PSVG Prime as like my first thoughts on the Killzone 3 trailer from E3. You know, mm-hmm. the controversial one, in my opinion. And there was a lot of debate, at least in our Discord, if this was actual in-game footage. Again, like what we kind of see with usually like the big E3 presentations. So I will say, as far as Bright Memory Infinite goes, you had mentioned that the game was already out on Steam.
Well, a chapter of it is out on Steam.
Yeah. So I investigated that. Donnie ended up buying it yesterday. I ended up actually buying it today. It's only $10. Mm-hmm. You get the first, whatever it is. It's just called Bright Memory. But if you buy that, you get a free upgrade to Bright Memory Infinite. So once I put my son down for a nap today, I fired it up. And I will say, it doesn't look as good, but it's a different game. Mm-hmm. However, even on my new gaming computer, which is not nearly close to top of the line, it looked stunning. Like, very close to how good that trailer looked on the Inside Xbox. So... and then I posted an article today in Discord where the developer came out and said blatantly that this was in-game gameplay captured on Xbox Series X. And now I believe it because I actually got to experience Bright Memory, and I think it looked so good it wasn't so far away from what we saw. Part of the trailer also lends to like it was raining, so there was like these extra shiny aspects which made it maybe look too good. Like it's not raining in the whole game. So like I feel like when you add that like rainy glossy aspect to the game, it made it looked not I'm not saying it made it look too good, it just made it look different than what maybe you would imagine the regular game looks like. And I'm saying it sounds weird as I say it, but what I'm saying is the effects that we saw maybe can't translate to current gen consoles because they can't handle that aspect of graphics yet. So maybe it looked too good because it is just on a console that can render those effects compared to what we have now. What did you think of the game?
I thought it looked like a hectic, frenetic mess.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. And not in a bad way. I don't mean that as... It really did look like the game that you kick off to show off what a next-gen console can do.
Yeah. It looked like Bulletstorm, right?
I mean, to a degree, yes. But with how much light refraction and the explosions and the rain and the sliding, and it very much looked like hey, this is the thing we're going to show off to show you how cool everything could look. It kind of almost reminded me of, J.J. Abrams and like lens flares and everything just for the sake of lens flares.
Yeah,
and, like that's kind of what it felt like to me. And I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily, and I think the game looked pretty. The thing that I don't know is and this is the thing I think both PlayStation and Xbox are going to struggle with. What makes this game next gen? You tried to explain what makes this game next gen.
Yeah.
And you're playing the game now, months before next gen happens.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that's the hard part of that. Just things looking prettier don't always translate on a stream.
That's
because
true.
like my stream wasn't, I was watching the thing live. My stream was 1080 60 most of the time.
Yeah.
And that was when it was running really, really well. And this is supposed to be 4K 60. And it just, I think that's one of the things they're really going to struggle with is that it's going to be very challenging to have people be like, my goodness, look at that. Because it's just not the same as sitting at your television with your console, with your television, looking at these things. Because everybody said, oh, when you go watch the video after the fact, it looks pretty cool. Because there's less compression, there's less, all of these situations are just better in that scenario. So I think it's a cool game. I'm looking forward to it. I do feel like it's kind of every cool thing from a shooter ever. Let's throw it into one shooter and see how it goes. That doesn't sound like a bad thing to me. So I'll definitely keep an eye on it, but it's not something that would make me go buy an Xbox Series X.
Yeah, it's very over the top. It's definitely very Japanime. Even like when I started playing, you unlock the schoolgirl outfit. You unlock like this. I was like, oh boy. And like when you click it, the skirt flies up and you see underwear for a second. It's very Japanime style.
Gotcha.
And it is very frenetic. There's so much going on. There's all these different ways to attack. There's like a force push and all these different things. And it's definitely challenging me on remembering keys on a keyboard.
Right.
Which is what I'm struggling with on most of my new PC gaming, is not using a controller. The next game feature was Dirt 5, which will be included with Smart Delivery. I don't have too much to say on it. It looked fine. It didn't look groundbreaking. They did announce Nolan North and Troy Baker featured in the game story, which I didn't think I ever wanted in a dirt or a racing game in general.
But now you got it.
But I don't think it looked bad. It looked like they were trying to emulate Forza in the trailer, which caught me off guard, but otherwise it looked fine. And it's another rally game.
Yeah, and I obviously am well known as not being a driving game person. So, another dirt game, another gotta show. Anytime you're showing a console, gotta show a driving game. It's what you gotta do. So
from racing to the furthest thing from racing, we go to the H.R. Geigerific Scorn, which was a game I completely forgot about. And then
I had forgotten about this game too.
Now I can't get it out of my brain.
Josh, I felt a little uncomfortable during that trailer.
Pornographic.
I thought we were watching alien pornography.
It really was. Essentially, the whole thing was, I mean, so if you're familiar with Alien or H.R. Geiger in general, or Prometheus, we didn't really see any gameplay. We just saw this montage of clips of what you would picture the movie Alien or the Alien Homeworld or the ships in Prometheus, just all H.R. Geiger art and style. It was an interesting watch. It was phallic. It was overtly sexual. It was a little odd. It's described as a horror experience game, but we don't know what the type of game it's going to be. I believe it's first-person shooter.
Yeah, it's a first-person shooter.
But we don't know action. I think survival horror, something along those lines. Who knows? Okay, so let's move on. Unless you have more.
Really briefly. This was originally a Kickstarter, right?
I think I get confused between this and that other game that is like similar to Scorn. The game I bought for the Switch that was terrible.
Yeah, I feel like this was a Kickstarter. I could be wrong, but I feel like it was.
You're probably not wrong, and I can actually look it up while we go on to... Let's move on to Chorus. So, we saw Chorus. In fact, I thought it was a new Parasite Eve game at first because it had like the plant bad guys and an aspect of like third-person shooter to it. We were told, we found out that it has the composer from Silent Hill, which makes sense with the gameplay, I think. It came across as very like survival horror-y, right? Am I thinking of the right game? Am I thinking of Chorus?
No,
I'm thinking
that
of
is
Medium. Sorry. I'm thinking of Medium. Let's go over that again. I thought Medium was Parasite Eve. Chorus, so we see the space combat game with the protagonist appearing to have a connection to her vehicle. So people are comparing this to Astral Chain. That's what. Okay. Right? Am I completely forgetting what Chorus was?
It's the one that you might need to watch a video for it
again.
But I think the one that's more like Astral Chain, to me at least, was Scarlet Nexus.
Oh, that's the one, Scarlet Nexus.
From Bandai Namco.
Oh, man. I'm bad at doing my job today. Can you remember what Chorus was about?
So Chorus is the one that had all of the... It is a space combat shooter. The trailer was like this woman standing in front of her ship, and then it would cut every once in a while to flight combat, and then it would go back to her like touching her ship, and then it would go like to flight combat again.
Oh yeah, it was the ship combat game.
Yes.
Okay, sorry, yeah. So I thought, every time I watched a trailer on this, I thought it was a different game than what it was. So I saw this trailer, I thought it was Elite Dangerous 2.
Oh yeah, which I could totally see.
Yeah, and then they cut to like outside of the ship exploring something.
Yep.
And she kind of looks like a Sith main character, or even like Hellblade-ish. I thought it looked interesting, but I would like to see if there actually is more gameplay outside of the ship.
Right.
Or if those are just exclusively cutscenes. I'll be curious to see if that exists in the game.
Yeah, ship combat games I sometimes have fun with. There have been some that I have played that I kind of have enjoyed, but nothing about this really made me be like, oh, that is a thing that I definitely want to play. So if I get the opportunity to, I'm sure I probably will, but I don't know that it's something I'm going to actively seek out.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So then we saw, we heard about Madden 21. We didn't see anything about Madden 21. In fact,
that's not true. You saw the last 7 seconds of that trailer was...
Yes, that's true. It really bugged me that the girl introducing the clip came back after the clip and was like, thank you, EA, for giving us a look at Madden 21. Wasn't that exciting? Didn't it look great? Like, no, you just showed us old clips of Madden games. It was a nice like tribute to Madden games.
Yeah.
But we didn't see any of Madden. We were told that it was not smart delivery. It has an upgrade program, but that is also available for a limited time.
Right.
After the game is released. So it's not really falling into that. Any thoughts on Madden 21?
So I do want to talk very briefly about the whole update to the new version thing. Do you think that has anything to do with the fact that it's an annual release, and that because it's an annual release, that's just way more complicated and they have to put a date on it?
Yes, I think so. I think that, I don't know. I mean, I do think that that's true. I just think that that's Madden, right?
Right.
Like, not to be negative towards them, but there's going to be a new Madden every year anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they add, there's definitely were some Maddens in the past that didn't add anything new.
Right.
Just roster updates. So like, yeah, I think like the same thing. They just have to add the new number and the new cover athlete.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which means Patrick Mahomes is going to be injured this season.
No, he was wasn't he the cover athlete this last year? Didn't he?
Oh,
Isn't he the one who
year?
broke the curse? Yeah, he's the one who
I
broke
thought
the
he was
curse.
this. Okay, I got you. I thought he was on the new one.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Oh no, they just said that he was on the new one. It wasn't Mahomes. Someone from the Cowboys? I don't know.
Oh, where's Coach Mo when you need him?
Yeah, he's listening, grinding his teeth. We saw Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 trailer.
Yep.
As always, I always enjoy the Vampire the Masquerade trailers, and I've never been a fan of the games. Because like even the guy I was watching the trailer with, he said, that looks really cool. And I said, yeah, I'll say this. It's pretty much like a heavy RPG system game. So it's not really what you're seeing in the trailer that you're necessarily getting.
Right.
I mean, you're getting it to some degree, but it's not an action adventure game. But for people interested, I think it's exciting. What about you? Any interest?
No, this trailer really didn't actually do much for me. I know a lot of people are saying it was cool. There's definitely some people who have kind of knocked the visuals in this trailer, but I don't know. And this I know I'm not the first person to say this, but I really very much felt like, okay, they made the Joker movie into a Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 trailer.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, I mean, it was creepy. It had the singing and the dancing and whatever. I don't know. It just didn't do much for me. So
cool. Well, we don't have time to hit everything. So let's just do a couple of quick hits and stop me on something that you want to talk about.
Oh, we have time. We'll be good. We'll be good.
So we have Call of the Sea was next.
Yes.
It was basically a mysterious adventure game, first person, probably similar to what you would picture The Witness or like Myst or Riven, those games like that. I thought it looked pretty, but just not in my preferred game styles. How about you? Is this something that you're interested in?
I thought it looked great. This is actually one of the games I'm most interested in coming out of this for sure.
Nice. Cool. Well, we'll look forward to more from Call of the Sea. We have The Ascent, which is basically a cyberpunk Diablo ish style game. Maybe like Diablo mixed with the Warhammer Chaos Bane game. Like basically top-down dungeon crawl.
Warhammer Inquisitor,
yeah.
Sorry. There we go. Yeah.
And Chaos Bane. They're both similarly styled.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yep.
Yeah. I thought it looked cool. Nothing really made me want to buy it, but I know that I want to see more from the game at least.
Yeah, I kind of was like, oh, this is going to be Xbox's Helldivers.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it did look very similar to Helldivers as well.
I mean, I don't know if it even looked that similar to Helldivers. I just think from a, twin stick, team up, go do these raid thing together. Like it felt
Contra meets Diablo. Yeah.
So, which is cool because like I thought Helldivers was great. I love my twin stick shooter stuff. So yeah, I think The Ascent looks like it could be cool.
There we go. Great. Actually, I look forward to that one too. The next one I think was probably the most interesting trailer for me for this one, and that was The Medium.
Mm-hmm.
Which this is the game I was one of the games I was misrepresenting. It definitely has that Silent Hills creepy survival horror aspect to it. The trailer starts with a woman getting an ultrasound on her unborn child, and then it shifts to her praying inside an empty church. Mm-hmm. It appears she's hallucinating as it turns briefly demonic and then ventures out into the cold. So it seems like one of those cool, like, not cool. It seems like one of those games with traumatic experience and then like shifting worlds and different atmospheres, while telling like potentially, who knows, like this interesting narrative story.
Mm-hmm.
I was probably most intrigued by this one. Did this one grab you?
I'm not a huge horror game fan anymore, and I know Bloober, the team who's making it, has had some hits and misses. They did
Blair Witch, right?
They did Blair Witch. They also did Observer, and they did Layers of Fear. Is that them?
Okay, maybe Layers of Fear.
I think so.
Sounds right.
So like I think there's definitely some possibility there. They've done some good things and some maybe not as great things, but I think the possibility of it being a cool game is high. I just not as into horror games as I used to be. So
cool. Okay, Scarlet Nexus is the other one I forgot or thought was the other one. This is from Bandai Namco.
Yeah.
It features enemies called the Others. This is the one I thought was like Parasite Eve, because they're basically like all plantish like style bad guys, at least at the start. Yeah, and they work for the OSF, which we don't know what that means yet. They have psionic powers, so maybe I don't know. I was going to try to guess what that means, but I started to spell psionic with an S, and I know that's wrong. It looks pretty cool. I don't think it's a game for me, but yeah, people were definitely getting those Astral Chain vibes from it. Or even like for me, like Bayonetta vibes. Similarly, like style gameplay, even Devil May Cry.
Yep, and I'm totally in on this game. I think it looks awesome.
Yeah, I figured this was more in line for you and less for me. Okay, the next one I was kind of interested. It's called Second Extinction. It's a first-person shooter from Avalanche Studios. It's about Earth has fallen and dinosaurs roam free. It's a squad-based like horde shooter.
Yeah.
While I thought it looked cool, the biggest problem I had was the endless amounts of the same character model attacking you.
There's a lot of them. That
seemed so boring to me. At least if it's zombies, like in World War Z, you're not paying so much attention to. You can at least dress them differently,
right?
And make them different races and sizes. But it's basically like an endless wave of Velociraptor clones. I think at the very end they might have shown us a bigger Velociraptor. It wasn't even like a T-Rex. It was just like a bigger Velociraptor. So I really need to see more about this game to get excited about it. To see, when I say more, I mean it literally. I need to see more game than just waves of, unless it's a $5 game. Right. What about you? Did this one get you excited, or where were you?
I thought maybe it was going to be some sort of Turok sequel.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't. And then I said there's a lot of games like this right now. Granted, most of them are zombies and not dinosaurs. But if I'm going to shoot dinosaurs, I guess I'd rather shoot robot dinosaurs at this point.
Yeah.
This didn't really do too much for me.
Okay, same. Next one is probably one way more interesting to you than me.
Heck yeah.
And it is a new game in the Yakuza saga. It's called Yakuza Like a Dragon. And yeah, they say it ditches real-time combat for a new turn-based system. I think you said that it's been turn-based for a while.
No, this is the first turn-based game, but that trailer, there's no way you would know that from that trailer. They did a really bad job of showing you like how this game actually plays. Because this game's already out in Japan and has been.
Okay.
But yeah, it's totally a turn-based RPG, which most of the previous Yakuza games were not. They were beat-em-ups is what they were before. So
okay. Well, maybe I'll actually like this one then.
Yeah, maybe. It still looks ridiculous, and you still do ridiculous stuff in it, which is Yakuza games to a T, which is great. But yeah, I just thought that trailer was not a great representation of what you'll actually do in the game. Well,
I guess it's lucky we're going to get a bunch more stuff in the next couple months from Xbox. Maybe we'll see more from Yakuza. Like a Dragon. And then Assassin's Creed Valhalla. This is where we wrap this one up.
Yeah.
It kind of caps my feeling on the whole Inside Xbox event, as it were. Pretty disappointing. And to build up this reveal, this gameplay reveal for Assassin's Creed Valhalla, I mean, we saw something. I don't want to say we literally saw nothing, but we saw, according to GameSpot, and I can't even confirm that I saw this, The only gameplay we saw was them using a battering ram, hitting a gate, some archery, and some melee combat. However, none of that was gameplay. The only thing that we saw was a very, very short end of that clip, I think. Like 5 seconds of gameplay or something crazy. Like short. Like the whole trailer, I would say, is what the equivalent of like an E3 trailer that says in-game engine.
Right.
Instead of in-game footage.
Right. I think there is a disconnect potentially between what we as gamers expect when we hear there's going to be gameplay versus what is shown potentially in these trailers. Because, yes, one of those things might be part of a cutscene or a animation lock that happens like once you hit a button. But that's, I don't think, really what we expect when we hear gameplay.
Yeah.
You know, the thing I always think about, and this is probably going to be me, people say this because I'm a Sony fanboy, and it really isn't. I just think they did this really well. When they revealed Horizon, I think they did a really nice job. Back at that E3 in 2015 or whatever it was, it started with a like 2 or 3 minute trailer and then transitioned into actual gameplay person on sticks for like 5 minutes with HUD and with everything on it, right? And I think that's really what, when we think gameplay, like we're expecting to see a HUD. At least I typically am.
Right.
You know, what am I going to see when I'm actually looking at the screen and I'm playing the game? That's tens. And yes, for some of these, maybe they deleted the HUD to make things look cleaner and make things look more crisp. Okay, cool. But that immediately begs the question then of, well, is this just a rendered cutscene? And then it's going to be like, oh, well, they're not rendered anymore because they're all in engine. Blah. Okay, whatever.
Right.
But I just think that's a hard thing to parse, is that when somebody hears gameplay, or when I hear gameplay, I'm thinking, what's the HUD look like? Let me actually feel like I would be the person holding the controller and controlling what's happening in the game, which, like you said, I think at the beginning, Bright Memory Infinite, very clearly gameplay.
Right.
You know, like, I was like, oh, here's some gameplay of this really frenetic looking shooter. Cool. And that's really the only time I felt that way.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I think with Dirt 5, it seemed like gameplay because it didn't look great.
Yeah, no, I think Dirt 5 for sure was too. But like I said, for Dirt 5, it's kind of like that, oh, here's gameplay because, I don't know. And for racing games, I think it's just so rote at this point of like, hey, here's how the cool sun reflects off this car when it goes into the turn. And, you know, like, that's just what racing games are now. So you could... I think I just always assume racing games are gameplay because they all look kind of the same to me.
They're all samey, yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm sure they're not for people who are big fans of them, but to me, they very much feel the same when I watch videos of them.
Agreed.
So overall, Josh, feelings on the show as a whole?
I mean, so I'm happy that these studios got their own showcase because they would normally get washed out on E3.
Yeah.
But I was very disappointed in the build up to this event. It's like the shortest Inside Xbox that they've ever done, and like usually we're subjected to 2 hours of them just blabbering on about things. So I was a little disappointed in the length. Nothing really was a big win for me. Like I didn't see anything that makes me want to like get excited about, and in fact I only invested the $10 into Bright Memory to see if I could believe what we saw was gameplay. It was more of an investigation purchase.
Oh, gotcha.
Than anything else. So I'm happy to be in for the new game at $10, but I was happy also to see that was definitely gameplay. Like it made me feel a little bit better that I don't have to, maybe I shouldn't be so skeptical of things that we see. So it made me feel maybe a little bit more optimistic about next gen to a degree.
Right.
Like you obviously weren't as impressed with that trailer as I was because I thought it looked too good to be next gen. And you were like on the page of, yeah, that's definitely gameplay. Like I wasn't there with you.
Oh, gotcha.
In that aspect right away. So I'm glad to have seen that. But yeah, I mean, overall, it's like a C+ for me.
Okay.
If I had to give it a rating, how did you feel about it in general?
I think this was a situation where Xbox was a victim of their own hype.
Yeah.
And for better or for worse, this is a thing that happens. And, they literally tweeted out the day before, tomorrow changes the game.
Yeah.
And that's on them. Like, they're the ones who told us that. That sets an expectation.
Yeah.
And there were many people, especially if you look at, online personalities, insiders, etc., who are like, hey, temper your expectations. Yeah. There were people who were saying that. But Xbox came out and said, hey, tomorrow changes the game. And
everyone's mad at the PR team.
Yeah, and I don't think they did that, And overall, I thought it was fine. I think they showed a good diversity of games. There was a lot of different types of games there. There were a couple that I'm interested in for sure. For better or for worse, I think the things they muddled the messaging on that really surprised me were what are exclusives, because there apparently are some, but I don't know that anyone knew that after the showcase.
Yep.
So I think that could have been made clearer. They said, hey, everything you'll see is optimized for Series X. Here's this badge. What does that mean?
Right.
I don't know that anyone knows what that actually means. It's going to run real good. Okay, cool, I guess. Like, I don't know what optimized for Series X means, though. Like, if it's just a marketing thing, fine. But does that mean that everything is going to be more than 4K 60? It's all going to have HDR. It's all going to have ray tracing. Is 120 frames per second going to be an option? Like, what does optimized for Series X mean? I don't know that they've ever told us that.
No, and I think for us, we can probably deduce that, but we could be wrong. And for the general public, they probably have no clue.
Because to me, it's almost like the Nintendo seal of quality. Did that really actually mean anything?
Right.
Like...
I thought of it as like the games that are optimized for X, like what we had with the Xbox One games. And then they were like optimized for Xbox One X meant that it was like running at a higher frame rate and enhanced graphics.
Okay. But does that mean that anything, so if it runs at 20 frames faster, now it's optimized?
Oh no, I agree. The message is very unclear.
Yeah, that's more like what I'm asking is like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, like I said, I thought the games they showed, I think were fine. I don't think any of them were great, but there are definitely some that I'm looking forward to. Yeah, I think they really did have a miss with the Assassin's Creed thing. I think they definitely didn't message that appropriately, and they tried to, at least Ubisoft, tried to back off expectations and say, hey, this is just gonna be a real like teaser. You'll get more information soon, but like don't, and they tried. I think that, everyone was just excited, which I don't blame them for. I think that's cool. Do you have any other thing else you want to say about this, or I have one final question about it before we go?
Oh no, go fire away.
Okay. If I recall, Aaron Greenberg said, quote, Halo, whatever the next Halo is, the world's most anticipated game.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
No. Maybe the Xbox world's most anticipated game.
So
we have 3 more highly anticipated games coming out in the next 2 months than Halo Infinite.
So I just thought that was an interesting choice of words. Halo Infinite, the world's most anticipated game.
You can say anything on the internet, Kyle.
I know you can. And that's fine. Like I said, I'm sure whenever Sony says something, whenever that happens, I'm sure they're going to mess a lot of stuff up too because it's Sony. But I don't know. I just think it's the first real foray into here's what's the next gen. I don't think it probably hit as well as they wanted it to. And I think really the hard thing is that immediately after this was over, PlayStation tweeted a GIF of Ghost of Tsushima, and people were like, oh man, that game looks amazing. And I think that's kind of the hard part, is that this is going to be, it's kind of like the problem PlayStation folk has with VR. How do you show people how cool it is?
You can't. It's impossible.
Yeah, and I think that's the hard part. Like this is going to be a regular problem, I think. Last point, sorry. At no point did they tell us why next gen makes these games better.
Yeah, and I saw someone tweeted that too. I agree with you. They're not selling the console. Right. They're just showing the games. And I'll give them a pass because this was the third-party showcase.
For sure.
But the next one they do that's just focused on the Xbox, whether it's the hardware or the games, you're 100% right. They need to focus on why you need to invest in this console right now, because that is how they will fail if they don't do that.
Yeah, and I think for me, the most, I don't want to say disappointing, but the thing that is the biggest, I think, miss for me here is they really could have put a ton of pressure on Sony, and I just don't think they did.
Yeah, no, Sony's not worried at all because we don't know what games are exclusive, Sony's just really sitting there being like, okay, great, you showed some games we already are going to have. So you did the marketing for us. And, nothing they did sets them apart from Sony.
Yeah. I mean, it is big that Yakuza is coming like day one right away to Xbox. That hasn't happened before. So that is big.
Yeah.
So they're definitely doing some work there. All right. Enough Xbox stuff. Josh, it's time. MetaSpring 2020. The results are here.
Hooray.
Hooray. How are you feeling about MetaSpring 2020?
Confused on what games are still in it.
Okay, well, that's okay. We will cover these things. We will go through. We'll walk through the games that are in the left for it. 8 of the 10 remained. We'll talk about what Josh predicted for the score to be. We'll talk about what I predicted the score to be. We'll tell you what the Metacritic score was, and we'll talk briefly about the games. But we're going to pound through this pretty quick because we don't want to be here all night. All right, Josh. First game. Do you remember what the first game in the contest was?
Wait. No.
It was an Xbox exclusive.
No. Wait. When did this start?
It was in March.
Oh, was it Ori?
It was. Ori and the Will of the Wisps was the first game.
Yes.
Do you want to take a stab now, knowing how that game was received, what the Metacritic score was?
I'm just realizing how disassociated I am from Metacritic right now, that I'm unfamiliar with what any game did. In fact, I only know about Predator because we've talked about how different we feel about the reviews. Yeah. If I had to guess, Ori's probably sitting around an 85 on Metacritic.
Ori is at a 90.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah, it's 90 on Metacritic. Josh, do you remember what you guessed?
Well, it's a 9 in my heart.
Here's the funny thing. You guessed an 85.
Nice.
So what you thought it was is what you guessed. I guessed a 92.
Oh, man.
So I did a little better there. But Ori, really well received. I think definitely a Game of the Year contender for many, many people this year. Did you ever play Ori and the Will of the Wisps?
I did, yeah.
And what'd you think? Remind me.
What did I think? I thought it's a beautiful game that I'm not good at and I don't like.
That's what I thought. I recalled, I was like, I feel like you dabbled in it.
I want to like it. I honestly want to like it. I can't platform anymore.
Right. No, I understand. I totally understand. So Ori Will of the Wisps 90 game that kicked off the contest. Next game on the contest is the game that is absolutely taking the world by storm. It's a little indie game that you may have heard of called Animal Crossing on their Nintendo Switch. Josh, what do you think that game is sitting at on a Metacritic right now?
92.
Ooh, very close. A 90 as well. So 2 games in a row sitting at a 90. I guessed 87 is where I guessed this game would land at. Where do you think you guessed it would land at?
I'm going to guess I gave it the Switch bump, which probably made some of our listeners angry. Did I give it a 90?
You did. You nailed it right on the head. You gave it a 90. And I think that the proof of the Nintendo bump must be real since you were able just to guess exactly what you gave the game. So you nailed that one perfectly. Josh hits it right on the head, gives it a 90. I said 87. But yeah, Metacritic sitting right now at a 90. Josh, do you think, for the style of game it is, do you think Animal Crossing is a Game of the Year contender?
I do actually. I saw someone tweet about it because some content that had come up that some things people are doing in the game right now. I think it was Forrest Minish actually from Nintendo Shack.
Yeah.
I think she said something. She was talking about it, and I can't remember the context of what she tweeted, but she was like, it makes her believe that this could become a Game of the Year nominee, like potential winner, and I really think it could because of the audience it has reached. So yeah, we could definitely see this. It definitely is in my top 5 of the year so far.
Yeah, Gary Witt is doing a talk show in it.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, I mean, this is the game that's going to get Donnie removed from the Nintendo Shack.
even Reggie wants to be on Gary Witt's show.
Yeah, so that was the second game, sitting at a 90, Animal Crossing. Third game, Doom Eternal, a game neither one of us have played.
Talking about frenetic shooters.
Yeah, I know, right? I would consider picking it up because it is the deal of the week on PlayStation right now. I don't know if I'm going to, but I'm considering it. But, Josh, if you had to guess, where do you think Doom Eternal got on Metacritic?
86.
Oh, Josh, you're so good at this. 87.
Whoa, look at me. I bet I didn't guess this good when we put our guesses in, though.
So 87 is what Doom Eternal is sitting at on Metacritic currently. I guessed an 89.
Okay.
What do you think you guessed?
Did I guess an 85?
You guessed an 87, Josh. You got two in a row right on the dot.
Oh, I am incredible.
And I got to be honest, when I starting to do this math, I was getting real worried about my chances to win.
Oh, don't worry. I'm sure I tanked it.
Well,
that's what I do, Kyle.
We'll talk about the next game in a second and how bad I tanked it. But so Doom Eternal, a lot of positive reviews, obviously.
Yeah.
A lot, definitely in the culture. When people were talking about the preview events, they said that this was a Game of the Year contender. I know neither one of us have played it, but would it surprise you to see someone select this as their Game of the Year?
No, I don't think so. It definitely scratches a specific type of itch for gamers.
Right.
And it's very impressive what they've done with the game. Just hasn't clicked with me because it's too much. Like I said before, I mean, my Doom is Doom 3. That's my Doom. Survival, horror Doom. And this is... can you amalgamate Doom and Quake together? Dwake? Or Quoom? This is Quake Arena Doom. Like, it's very similarly styled. And I used to love playing Quake and Unreal Tournament.
Right.
Back in my good old-fashioned PC days.
For sure.
But yeah, maybe I'm too old.
Yeah, no. So Doom Eternal, like I said, 87. Josh nailed that one right on the head, 2 in a row. I'm not going to lie. That had me a little worried about how this contest was going to go. And then the next game added to it significantly. Josh, can you guess the next game on this list?
Was it Predator?
No, it's another Xbox exclusive. Came out in March.
I have a hard time believing Xbox had 2 exclusives this year.
Which probably tells you how well this game did.
Oh, no. It was Bleeding Edge.
It was Bleeding Edge. That is correct. Bleeding Edge. That hero brawler melee combat game, I guess?
Hoverboard.
Yeah. So if you had to guess, number one, do you know anyone who's played that game in the last 6 weeks?
Coach Mo apparently loves it.
Oh, well, Coach Mo loves everything Xbox.
He does love everything.
What do you guess? Metacritic, where do you think this game's sitting?
65?
67.
Oh, I'm so good today.
You're so good at this. Josh, what do you think you guessed this game would get?
Did I put it at a 70?
You said 72.
Okay.
Josh, you want to know what I said it was going to get?
Did you put it 85?
I said 80. So a lot of points on this one.
Hey, that was you gave it a shot. You gave it a chance.
I really wanted to do well. I wanted to be successful. So yeah, I had guessed 80, and it got a 67. What do you think the legacy of Bleeding Edge is going to be?
Oh, probably who has a really bad legacy?
Oh, wow.
I don't know the player base. I don't want to say anything silly it's a terrible game. I just don't know anyone playing it. So
right.
It's just really off my radar.
For sure. So Sea of Thieves was a game that I think came out a little lukewarm, but it seems like a lot of people are still liking and playing that game.
There's a huge player base for that. It's crazy.
Yeah. Do you think that Bleeding Edge is going to kind of have that comeback, that it's going to have a strong tail on it, and then we're gonna be talking about Bleeding Edge a year or two from now still?
Maybe. I mean, it's definitely in a category of game that people consistently play.
For sure.
And it's definitely different enough from the other ones that maybe people are jumping to it for a break. I just, I don't really know what that audience is. I mean, can we see? I want to see if we can find active players. Is it crossplay? Is it on PC as well?
It is on PC as well. I'm pretty certain.
So on the Steam charts, at least 30 in the past 24 hours, 55 people were playing it.
Okay.
The all-time peak was 828. In the last 30 days, the average players were 71.
That's not super great.
No, and it peaked the month it came out, and it dropped a quarter. No, it dropped 3 quarters in 1 month, and then it dropped another half the next month. So it's
Guess
not on PC being actively played.
Guess how many people are currently watching Bleeding Edge be played on Twitch?
Oh, I actually just pulled that up too. Well, I know that it has had 34 monthly viewers.
Currently, as we record this, 12 viewers are watching Bleeding Edge.
Yeah. So yeah, in February they had 463 viewers, and now for May they have 34.
Gotcha.
Not doing great.
Not doing great at all, but hopefully they get it figured out because it seems like a cool concept. So I'm hoping that game can come back strong. All right, Josh, next game on the list. Do you want to take a stab at what it was? It is not a console game.
It's not a console game.
Correct.
What did we do that was PC? Gears Tactics?
No.
Oh.
It is a VR game.
Oh. It's not on PSVR? Because that's console.
It is not.
Oh, Half-Life Alyx.
That is correct. Half-Life Alyx came out towards the end of March. Josh, what do you think that's sitting at on the old Metacritic?
I've heard good things. Well, let me say 87.
Josh, would it surprise you to know that Half-Life
Alyx 93
is the highest rated game in the contest? It is a 93, is where it is sitting right now. What do you think? What do you think you guessed it was going to be?
I have to think I guessed it at a 90.
Josh, here's where I made my valiant comeback.
You nailed it.
I guessed 88.
Oh, was I way lower?
You guessed 75.
Oh my God, what was I thinking?
So this was the time where I said, okay, I have a chance.
There we go. Typical Josh.
And the important thing to note, audience, is that Josh inputted his own score. So it was not me messing with things. So you did guess the 75. Sitting at a 93, this was the game that was supposed to make VR the thing we all needed. Do you think Half-Life Alyx has done that?
I mean, no, I haven't really heard too much about it. What I've heard about it has been glowing, but it's not like blowing up where I've seen constant posts about it. So no, I mean, I'm surprised it's that high and that not more people are talking about it.
Right. Yeah, the week or so after it came out, it kind of was everywhere, and now I haven't seen much of it in quite some time. So Half-Life Alyx, 93 on Metacritic. Next game, Resident Evil 3. Josh, obviously the follow-up to the much beloved Resident Evil 2 that came out last year. That was a critical darling. How do you think Resident Evil 3 fared this year?
I don't think it fared as well. And I feel like I guessed it would fare better than it did.
To be fair, we both thought it was going to fare better than it did.
Okay. Is it like a 72?
It is higher than that. It's actually an 80.
Okay, that's good. That's not bad.
No, it's not bad at all, which is funny because I felt like the conversation around it was so negative that when I looked that score up, it was far higher than I thought it was going to be, actually. I guessed 89.
Okay.
You guessed 93.
Ooh.
But I think that was fair. It looked good. We had come off of Resident Evil 2, which had been amazing. Capcom had been firing it on all cylinders. So, yeah, I don't think our guesses were bad. I'll be honest. Most of the people who submitted guesses, too, were up in our ballpark. Okay. So there was not a lot of people there was a couple people, actually, who did well on this game. But overall, most people were kind of up in our upper 80s, low 90s area. So, next game on the list, Josh, Final Fantasy VII Remake. You've played it.
It's a 98 in my heart, Kyle.
I know. I've played it. Where do you think it's sitting at?
That's a tough one. I actually didn't look at Metacritic, well, for any of these, but I don't really know where. Like a 93?
It is sitting at an 88.
That's too low.
So that is where it's sitting currently. I know you said no, not Ori. Animal Crossing is in your top 5 of the year. Is it safe to assume Final Fantasy VII is in your top of the year as well?
Yeah, it's number 1 right now.
Gotcha. What do you think you guessed it was going to be?
85.
You're off by 10.
Oh, I guessed 95.
You did guess 95. So high expectations, and you said it's a 98 in your heart. So it still exceeded your expectations.
Yeah, I underguessed my heart.
Yeah. So I said 93. So we were both off there a little bit. But overall, 88 right now. And I think, like you said, I think definitely a game of the year contender for many people right now. Granted, there's a ton of heavy hitters still to come. The final game is the game we've talked about quite a bit on the show recently. That is Predator Hunting Grounds. We did talk about how currently it's sitting at a 56
Hooray.
on Metacritic. Josh, do you remember what you guessed it would be?
I'm going to guess I made a safety guess on this one, and I was in the 70s. I'm going to guess maybe like 72 or something like that.
I guessed 72, so that was good. You guessed 77.
Damn it. Well, that's not helpful at all.
So Predator Hunting Grounds sitting at a 56. I think
that's a lot of points I just made up there.
Yeah,
not made
there's
up,
a lot
but
at the
added.
end. A lot at the end there. After starting off really, really strong, things kind of fell off a little bit at the end. I think we both agree that this game is a little better than that 56.
Yeah. Probably your score.
But I definitely understand why the game has that score to a degree. But that was the last game. The final two that were supposed to be in the contest were Marvel's Iron Man VR, and then The Last of Us 2, which does have a release date now in June. But the rules for the contest said the game had to be released by the end of May. So as a result, those two games are getting cut off. So it's just these 8 games that we're going with. Overall, Josh, your score was 69.
Hey, the sexiest of all scores.
Yeah, and my score was a 56. So.
Oh, man.
All right. So now the real question, Josh. Do you want to guess what the score for the winning person was?
Did they do better than you?
Yeah, they did do better than I did.
Okay. 52.
Close. 49.
Whoa, good job to the winner.
49 was the... Did you know who it was?
No.
Okay, so 49 was the winning score. And the winner was none other than Dat Ninja Dev himself.
Oh, nice. Congrats, Dev.
So congratulations, Devin. You are the winner of MetaSpring 2020. I will be in contact soon with your prize, $60 Amazon gift card.
Ooh.
So we'll talk about that soon. Now, Josh, typically we give a second place prize.
Yeah.
And then we give a prize for the person who got the most number of games exactly correct.
Yes.
I'm going to ask if it's okay with you if I do an audible on this.
Of course.
And here's the audible. We're still going to award second place. However, there was a tie for second place, and you are the person who got the most number of games correct. So is it okay if I take your gift and then combine it and split it to send to these people?
Yeah, I don't qualify for prizes.
So what I'll do, typically second place would have been a $30 gift card, and then we gave a $20 gift card to the person who got the most number correct. I'm just going to send a $30 gift card to both of these people. And we will give no prize for the most number correct, because then after you, there was like 5 people tied at one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll just give 2 second place prizes, and I feel like that's fair, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So this contest this spring was very, very close. As I had mentioned, Dev won at 49 points. 2 people got 50 points.
Whoa.
Yes, so very, very close. Those second place winners are Ed Dickinson. Congratulations, Ed. And the person whose name I still don't know how to pronounce, but I probably should, Denny. And I don't know if it's Luce or Luce, but Luce. And I never know because his Twitter is at Loose Screw, Luce. So I think it's Loose, but I don't know.
It's gotta be loose then, right?
Yeah. So Denny and Ed, you are our second place winners. So you'll each get a $30 gift card to Amazon. I will be in contact via email based off the email you submitted for the contest. I'll be in contact the day or so after the show releases. So don't need to reach out to me. I will reach out to you. Congratulations to everyone who participated. We really appreciate it. Metafall will be coming back, so we'll take the summer off, but we will be coming back with Metafall in the fall of 2020, and it should hopefully be super exciting because not only will we have Cyberpunk and Marvel and a whole bunch of other cool games like that, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, we'll also potentially have the first batch of games
PS5
that are coming
games.
out. Yeah, PS5 games, and I guess, for Xbox it won't matter, but we'll have to figure out how we're going to do that. But yeah, so we should have console launch games as part of it, and that's always pretty exciting.
Yeah.
So with that, thank you everyone who participated. Congratulations to our winner, Devin, and to Ed and Denny for second place. I will be in contact shortly. With that wrapping up, Josh, we do have some emails, questions. Do you want to take us through those?
Let's do it. Let's start with a tweet from Mr. Play Nintendo himself, Donnie Reese. He says, or asks, how much do you care about PS5 potentially being backward compatible? For instance, would you actually play any PS1 to PS3 games if it was? Would you not buy a PS5 if you couldn't bring your library over from PS4? So there's definitely a few. So why don't we start with Kyle? How much do you care about PS5 being backwards compatible in the aspect of PS1 to PS3 games?
I don't care at all about that.
Okay, neither do I. Now, the second big question, would you not buy a PS5 if you could not bring your library over from PS4?
That would be a much tougher pill to swallow, mostly because I have friends who are going to probably not upgrade for a while, and I hope that I'm still going to be able to play games with them on my PS5 that they're playing on their PS4, like Overwatch and all those good things. So I'm hoping that all works out. And I would really hate to have two consoles set up, this is a really dumb reason, but I literally have 3 shelves for gaming consoles. I have my Nintendo on one, my Switch on one, my PlayStation on one, and my Xbox on one. I don't really have another place.
Yeah.
So it'd be really big pain in the tuchus. And I mean, this is also kind of a bit of a hypothetical because they've already said it's going to work. So yeah, it would be a tough pill to swallow, but it's also hard to think about that being the reality because we know it's not.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't buy a PS5 if I couldn't bring over, like, I have a PSVR and like 30 PSVR games that I can't play now. So yeah, I definitely, at least not right away. I would have to make the decision if I want to sell my PS4. But with so many games that not only you and I have both bought digitally, like, it's really impossible to leave that behind. And I don't have enough outlets to keep my PS4 and then add a PS5. I'm the same way. I have my PS4, and then in the middle is my Switch, and then on the right is my Xbox.
Right. So,
and that's the room I have.
Yep, exactly. That is what I have room for.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. Splig jumps in with a question. He says, my mom loved Century Spice Roads last she visited. Do your moms have a favorite? He also says, as a fam, we'd also play Catchphrase or Sequence, too. My mom loved Century Golem Edition. She also loved Sagrada. And she enjoys Ticket to Ride, but I don't actively play board games with my parents.
Right.
That's very rare. But I can say she did love Century. How about you?
Yeah, I don't really play board games with my parents too often, though I will say typically when I go visit, if we're going to play a board game, it typically ends up being apples to apples.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what
tried and true.
Yeah, my parents really love it. Here's the funny thing about the apples to apples my parents have. So, when you buy apples to apples, right, there's the blank cards that you can customize.
Yeah.
So they customized one for everyone in my family except me.
Aww.
So even my brother-in-law has a card, but I don't.
That's not good.
So, hey, there you go. That's my family for you.
Ouch.
Yeah, it was a little ouchy. The first time I played and realized there was no card for me was a little awkward.
Oh man.
Awesome. Hey.
Yeah, that's all we get for questions.
All right, so I don't think we need to have a therapy session for me right now about that. So thanks everyone for submitting your questions. You can always reach out to us at boardwithvg on Twitter or send us an email, boardwithvg@gmail.com. Obviously, we're a gaming podcast, but we do want to give you one recommendation, suggestion, or thing we're currently into that's helping us live that well-rounded life. This is typically something not gaming related, but just something else we're into at this time. Josh, what's your recommendation for our dear listeners?
Hey, so I'm way behind on this, but I just started, a few days ago, I started The Outsider on HBO, which is the miniseries adaptation of a Stephen King book.
Yeah.
Directed, at least the first episode, maybe more, by Jason Bateman. Also starring Jason Bateman and starring, I'm forgetting his name, but I'm a really big fan of his. He was in Bloodline and Star Wars Rogue One. And why am I forgetting his name?
Ben Mendelsohn?
Ben Mendelsohn, thank you. It is excellent. It reminds me of True Detective Season 1 as far as pacing goes. It's very dramatic. It's very well acted. It has a very cool, I don't want to say cool, it has an interesting Stephen King twist to it. And I think I'm close. I'm on episode 6. I think I'm close to the end. But this is a super easy recommendation. However, I would say the first episode, it starts off with a very graphic scene, which could be tough for people to watch, especially parents. And then it doesn't really focus too much on graphic content throughout. Just they kind of do it to get you invested in what's happening to a certain degree. So brace yourself for that part, at least. But if you're interested in stuff like that, Stephen King and like suspenseful dramas, this is excellent. Very good.
I've heard good things about it. I haven't watched it yet, but I've heard very, very good things about it. And similar to what you said, I've heard that it is very off-putting to some people because there's that graphic scene right at the beginning, which I don't know what it is, but I've heard that there's a graphic scene at the beginning.
Yeah.
But then that really doesn't happen much in the rest of the show.
No, there's like one so far. There's only been one other moment, and it pales in comparison to the first one, but it's still, I would consider graphic. But it's used for a purpose. It's not gruesome to be gruesome, so I think they do a good job with it.
I always find it interesting when there's just one really gruesome scene in a show or movie.
Yeah.
Did you ever see Bone Tomahawk?
Yeah, no, I haven't, but I haven't seen it yet. I've heard there's
one real scene where I'm like, oh goodness. But then, did you watch Mindhunter on Netflix?
Yes.
Yeah, like the very first scene of Mindhunter too. Yeah. I was like, oh, that's the kind of show this is, and then basically nothing like that happens ever again.
Then it's like a it's like a Law and Order.
Right,
TV
exactly.
show.
So awesome. That's The Outsider on HBO. My recommendation, this is coming a little bit because we got a hard time for it on our most latest episode of Bored with Everything. It is finally nice where I live, and I have spent the last week or so, I've spent a significant amount of time outside. So in a time where we're supposed to be social distancing, that doesn't mean that if, you have a backyard or something like that you can go out, sit outside, spend some time in nature, if you would, as close to nature as you can when living in a suburb or wherever you might live. But just spend some time outside. Soak up those sun rays. Those things can be helpful in moderation. Use some sunscreen if you need to. But just kind of spend some time outside with nature. Breathe in that outside air. That's all really good for you. So just make sure you're just taking some time to do that for yourself. Help you get a little more grounded, all of that good stuff. So there you go, Donnie. My recommendation.
Go
outside.
For me. We had a snowstorm yesterday.
Yeah, I know. The weather is a little odd. I think there's been many places that had snowstorm in the last few days. So thanks, May. All right, Josh. Well, let's wrap up this show.
Okay. Thanks for joining us, everyone. In addition to finding us on Twitter and Instagram at Bored with Fiji, you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/boredwithfg. So feel free to give us a 5-star rating over there. Also, if you want to communicate in the more long form, you want to enter our contest, or you're just not feeling social media, please feel free to email us at boredwithfg@gmail.com. We tag all of our stuff with hashtag boredwithfg. So please feel free to use that hashtag as well so we can see what you are up to on all of the social medias. And whatever podcast service you are listening to us on, we encourage you to give us a stellar rating. That is, whether you're downloading us from the PSVG feed, the Dice Tower Network feed, or our very own standalone Bored with Video Games feed. You can find me on Xbox Live, PlayStation Network, at Why So Serious, that's SIRRIUS. I am on Steam at JoshBones715. And I'm still on Switch. Come and find me. Kyle, where can people find you?
So you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, PlayStation Network, Xbox Live, Board Game Geek, all at Psychocross, CYCOCROSS. As always, if you have suggestions for future topics, be sure to reach out to us on the social media because we want to talk about what you want to hear about. Next week, you'll probably have 1, 2, maybe even 3 game reviews from me. So I know we haven't been doing as many of those lately, and I want you to know we have not forgotten about them. So look for more of those next week. And remember, everyone, whether it be board games or video games, never stop gaming.